Brothels are a much sounder investment than ships, I've found. Whores seldom sink, and when they are boarded by pirates, why, the pirates pay good gold coin like everyone else. Peter Baelish to Eddard Stark. A Game of Thrones Chapter 27, Eddard 6. Brothels and their ilk are a surprisingly important part of the income of a large city like King's Landing due to the sheer amount of gold that flows through them, and thus there tends to be establishments that cater to all kinds of tastes and budgets, to the poorest of small folk, to kings themselves. Every city in Westeros has them, even smaller towns and villages, from the sands of Dawn to the wild north, but nowhere else in Westeros has as many as King's Landing. So much so that one of the largest streets in the city is dedicated to the profession, the Street of Silk, home to the finest and most grim pillow houses in the whole city. While most are located on the Street of Silk, there are also countless smaller establishments all over King's Landing, with many located in the slums of Flea Bottom. But most alehouses and wine sinks throughout King's Landing also tend to attract independent working girls, with it common for serving girls to act in this role. Outside of the Street of Silk, there are one or two other high-profile locations, mostly around the docks just outside the Rivergate, establishments often frequented by merchants and traders who have just made landfall. By the time of the main book series, there are arguably 3 notable pillow houses in King's Landing, with key figures, such as the Master of Coin, Peter Baelish, owning several establishments throughout the city. It is never pleasant to lance a boil, Grand Maester Elessar wrote of the affair. You never know how much pus will come out, or how badly it will smell. The pus that burst forth from the Blue Pearl would smell very bad indeed. The writings of Archmaester Galdane, Fire and Blood, The Long Reign, Jaehaerys and Alysanne, Policy, Progeny, and Pain. Of the 4 named pillow houses in King's Landing that we know of, 3 of them are either very minor or we know very little about them, other than the key role they play in the history of the city. The first of these pillow houses is known as the Blue Pearl. It seems the Pearl was one of the more reputable establishments on the Street of Silk, and often frequented by minor lords and knights. While not necessarily the nicest the street has to offer, clearly, it is not the worst. It became infamous in 84 AC during the scandal of the 9th-born daughter of King Jaehaerys the Conciliator, Princess Saera Targaryen. 2 men of the City Watch found Tom Turnip, the fool of King Jaehaerys, surrounded by whores at the Blue Pearl, as well as Sir Braxton Breezebury, Lord Roy Coddington, and Jonah Mooten, all 3 the male favourites of Princess Saera Targaryen. Coddington would later admit that they thought it would be funny to see the fool do the deed, and Jonah Mooten said the prank had been Sarah's idea. Needless to say, the escapade would have far-reaching consequences for the likes of Sarah herself, but also all those involved in it. Additionally, according to one of Sarah's friends, Alice Turnberry, Sir Braxton Breezebury is said to have fathered a bastard daughter on a whore at the Blue Pearl. However, the only indication we have of this is Alice's testimony, with Breezebury never acknowledging this himself when questioned. During the early regency of King Aegon III, we know of another pillow house, supposedly in the lower end of the Street of Silk, among the cheaper establishments, known as Mothers, run by a woman simply going by the name of Mother. The girls employed there are referred to as Mother's daughters. During the wake of the Dance of the Dragons, the former Grand Maester Orwyle, who had escaped imprisonment, hid and worked in the brothel during this period under the alias of Old Will, until he was later discovered and recaptured. We also know of one other pillow house that is not located on the Street of Silk, but rather next to the Rivergate and the docks beside the Blackwater Rush. The Mermaid was said to be one of the most high-class pillow houses ever to grace King's Landing. It was owned by Roggerio Rogare, of House Rogare of Lys. This time in history is known as the Lycene Spring, as many members of House Rogare held positions of power during the regency of King Aegon III, after Roggerio's elder sister, Lara Rogare, married Prince Viserys Targaryen, later King Viserys II. The Mermaid really stood out among the other pillow houses of King's Landing. It was an opulent establishment, full of exotic animals such as parrots from the Summer Isles and monkeys from Sithorios. All spoke of the beauties and wonders in the Mermaid, and some even claimed that the brothel had a real mermaid within. Roggerio charged 10 times more for his exotic prostitutes, who originated from all across the known world. Roggerio opened the brothel in 134 AC, and the establishment never lacked for customers and was always busy, mainly with high lords, knights, and rich merchants. Tisario the Tiger, one at the hand of the king, Sir Unwin Peake's fingers, was banned from the Mermaid by Roggerio when he hit one of the girls. During the end of the Lycene Spring in 135 AC, Sir Marsden Waters of the Kingsguard arrested Roggerio at the Mermaid when House Rogare was accused of treason. After being released, Roggerio sold the brothel and everything in it to purchase a giant cog, which he named the Mermaid's Daughter. The cog entertained patrons while travelling from port to port in the narrow sea. The ship also traded in spices and exotic wines and is said to have made Roggerio a very rich man. Show me a few of your girls. It will be a great delight. You will find that they are all sweet as they are beautiful, and skilled in every art of love. Tyrion Lannister and Chataya. A Clash of Kings, Chapter 15. Tyrion 3. By the time of the main book series, Chataya's brothel, or Chataya's as it's known by most, is by far the most reputable and famous pillow house in all of King's Landing, with its reputation even being known across Westeros and into the free cities of Essos. It is an upscale brothel on the Street of Silk in King's Landing, and sits at the top of the Street of Silk where most of the expensive pillow houses are located. It is owned and run by Chataya. Her girls are costly and dress in flowing silk clinched at the waist with beaded belts. Chataya herself is said to be tall, elegant, and a dignified woman who came from the Summer Isles. She had ebon skin and sandalwood-coloured eyes. Her voice is smooth and resonates with an accent of the Summer Isles. Following the belief of the Summer Islanders, Chataya feels that there is no shame in prostitution, and that people honour the gods with their bodies and their desires. The brothel is 2 stories tall, with a stone ground floor and a timber upper floor. Many of the windows are leaded and have ornate stained glass designs. Over the door swings an ornate lamp of gilded metal and scarlet glass. Inside the entrance, the air smells of exotic spices from across the world. Its floors display a mosaic of 2 women entwined in love. The common room is behind an ornate mirrorish screen that has been carved with flowers and dreaming maidens. The common room itself has a cushioned alcove and a leaded-coloured glass window where sunlight pours through. Often there is musicians playing music within the common room. A round turret rises from one corner of the house. The turret room is located up 2 flights of stairs from the ground floor, then down a long hall up another stairs to a lone door which opens to the turret room. Within the room is a great canopied bed, a tall wardrobe decorated with erotic carvings, and a narrow window of leaded glass in a pattern of red and yellow diamonds. Inside the turret room's empty wardrobe is a back panel concealing a secret passageway. When the back panel is pushed aside, it reveals a metal ladder whose rungs go well below street level. The shaft then opens up into a dark, slanting earthen tunnel. Having come perhaps a distance of 3 blocks under the Hill of Rhaenys, a patron will then emerge through the trapdoor at the back of the nearby stables. How is it a brothel happens to have a secret entrance? The tunnel was dug for another king's hand, whose honour would not allow him to enter such a house openly. Chataya has closely guarded the knowledge of its existence. Tyrion Lannister and Varys, A Clash of Kings, Chapter 15, Tyrion 3. During the events of A Game of Thrones, the Pillow House plays a minor role. One of the whores has Barra, a bastard daughter of King Robert Baratheon. During his search for the king's bastards, Lord Eddard Stark finds the child and her mother at Chataya's brothel. It then goes on to play a huge role during the events of A Clash of Kings, where Queen Cersei Lannister decides to erase any clue of her adultery and has Barra and her mother killed by men of the City Watch under the command of Aladdin. Tyrion Lannister later visits Chataya as a front for his secret visitations with Shae at a manse located nearby. When he enters the common room, he sees an older man playing music on pipes and girls playing tiles near a window. Chataya's daughter shows Tyrion how to access the secret tunnel from the turret room, and Varys escorts him beneath Rhaenys' hill, where Tyrion then rides from a nearby stable directly to Shae's manse. Tyrion returns to the brothel on several occasions. During one visit, a patron attempts to spit on Tyrion, but the spittle instead lands on Tyrion's companion, Bronn, who knocks out the patron's teeth. On another occasion, Bronn goes off with a girl from Dorne. The War of Five Kings has led Chataya to offer a poor vintage of wine, which has displeased her greatly. Tyrion often considers bringing King Joffrey to the brothel so he can enjoy the girls. Fearing that Tyrion plots against Joffrey, Cersei threatens Tyrion by having one of the girls from Chataya taken as a hostage, as she mistakenly believes that this prostitute is Tyrion's lover instead of Shae. Peter Baelish, Littlefinger, master of coin for most of the main books, owns several pillow houses across King's Landing. However, we know little about them or their location. However, during the events of Game of Thrones, he does hide Catelyn Stark when she travels to King's Landing after the attack on Bran Stark with the Catswold dagger in one of his brothels. Littlefinger, after the death of King Robert and the imprisonment of Eddard Stark, would hide the friend of Sansa Stark, Jane Paul, in one of his pillow houses. There is some implication that he intended to put her to work while she was there.